got still on the borderline and surely like this. Approaching of a UMC is purely hypeness. So I mention it again.
I got into DJing. Always had like 12 inches back in the day when 12s were coming out, but I never had turntables. Then I was playing basketball with this dude, and he was from New York. So we were shooting ball at Kent, and then after that, we went to his crib, and I heard this noise, and it was a song. It just kept starting over. It was Run DMC. It was Sucker MCs. It kept starting over, and I heard it like as I was approaching his house. I was like, "What the hell?" It sounded like it was scratch. Kept going doom doom tap tap. Kept starting over. So then I went in the house, and his brother was in there on the turntables, and that was the first time that I ever saw up close someone mixing, and he was just going back to back with Sucker MCs. And from that moment on, that's when I wanted to be a DJ. From that moment. My influences were, I would basically say the Fitzgerald family, that same family, because when I seen Ricky doing his thing, I said I gotta learn how to do that. So that inspired me to want to be a DJ. And yes, sir. Y'all gonna laugh at me, but back in the day, BDP came out and I liked their shit. And I looked on the bottom of the label and it had a number on it, and I called that number and I talked to the owner of B-Boy Records, and his name was Bill Camaro. So I sent him, at the time I was rapping and scratching, so the rap was horrible, but the scratch made up for the rap. So I sent him some of my stuff and he sent me a contract back. So Bill Camaro, that's how I got plugged in to B-Boy Records. That's how I got my deal, if you want to call it a deal, because it was bogus. The song was entitled "My Turntables Can Talk." You had to throw that in, didn't you? Okay, so I had to deal with B-Boy Records, and I flew to New York to meet Bill Camaro and bring my new songs. And I went into his office in the Bronx, didn't know nobody in New York, from Columbus, Ohio. And so he opened his door and said, "Play your music." I played the music, and he was like, "Okay, that's cool." So then I'm stuck in New York. Basically, he just shut the door on me. So I'm stuck in New York and don't know no one. And I met a guy there that happened to be there at the same time I was there. His name was Anthony Rasan, Tony Rasan. And we kind of stayed in touch, and he kind of plugged me in and told me about New York, the do's and don'ts in New York. Took me under his wing like a big brother. And he was, at the time, he was running a syndicate radio show called Wrap It Up, which was heard all over the world way before the internet was big. And he let me play some of my mixes and got me some pub like that. And eventually he ended up being the manager of D Nice from BDP and Craig G of the Juice Crew, and he had a new group coming out called the UMCs. And he said, "I got this new crew," and he introduced me to Haas and Kim, and he said, "You gonna be the DJ? You gonna be down?" So that's how I met the UMCs and how I hooked up with them. That was dope. RNS was the producer. He did most of the tracks, and they would fly me in, and it was on the spot. That's what I loved the most about it. It was none of it was rehearsed. They would just have all the breaks ready for me. They'd be like, "I want you to cut right here. I want you to put this in there, right there. Do it your way." So it was mainly RNS and Hassan. Hassan was the mastermind because he knew he had a vision of what he wanted to be in there. So that was the process. Basically, everything was already laid, and they just flew me in and had me put my cuts in. Once again, Hassan, he was like, "Kid, cut that hay up," and I just had my way with it. Just did it how I felt it, and yeah, basically Hassan was the mastermind behind all the cuts. He had a real good ear for that. He knew what would sound dope. And I just cut it my way, the way I knew how to do it. Just have fun with it. Mainly, I would say 95% of the cuts Hassan would just think right there on the spot. He would say, "We want you to scratch right here," and then he would grab a record. But it was a couple that I did. Like Time to Set It Straight, he knew what he wanted in there. He knew he wanted that Big Daddy Kane because of the song. But most of the other stuff, he would just put the needle on the thing and just listen and be like, cut this, or he would just pretty much, he knew what he wanted. But it was a couple that I just threw in there with my touch. But pretty much it was all set up by Hassan, Hash G. I always liked Eric B as president. I always liked Cutting That and Sucker MCs, of course. And what else did I always used to gravitate to? Rock the Bells, everybody loved that. And It's Time, those were my favorite. Kind of cliche with what all the other DJs were doing. Unleashed was different because RNS wasn't aboard on this one, and it's pretty much, it wasn't too much different. It was pretty much the same thing. This is what I want you to cut. What are you hearing in here? And just cut it up. Same thing. Okay, so after '93, I still DJ'd in Columbus and did some stuff, but then I started getting a little frustrated with the music. So around 96, 97, I opened a studio because I wanted to make a difference, and I just felt like the DJ and the music, the way the mainstream was, I wasn't feeling it. So that's what I've been doing ever since, running a recording studio. I use my favorite is an old school method, the Akai sampler and a DR5 drum machine as a sequencer, and also use a motif. And that's it. I'm running the studio, trying to help some young kids come in and take the music to the next step, so I can just kind of sit back and just guide them, basically. Just kind of just playing the laid back world right now. As a DJ, of course, Jazzy Jeff, Primo, and DJ Scratch. Those are my favorites right there. There's a whole bunch that I love, but those are my three favorites. I was happy to hear that. I wasn't surprised, but I was happy to hear that he did those songs and made a good name for himself in the production tip, because he's dope. My Instagram is DJ Kid Magic at Instagram. I don't have a Twitter. My Gmail is djkidmagicrock@gmail.com, and that's how you can contact me.